Welcome back, everybody, to the newest episode of the New York Only podcast. I'm your host, Matt Harms, founder and principal broker of the Time Away Realty Group. I'm joined today by Howie Mann of Quick Commercial Capital, one of our extraordinary private money lenders. And we're going to talk today about all things real estate lending and anything else that might be on your minds. Howie, how are you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me, Matt.
It is my pleasure. I know you were on my PED podcast way back in its infancy. We spoke about everything, but I really wanted to bring you back today because you are such a valuable resource when it comes to real estate lending and helping people navigate some of the murky waters that are still out there, unfortunately.
Correct. And the mortgage rates are going up right now. So it's a good time to try to lock in right now if you're thinking of getting into more real estate ventures.
Now, with rates going up, actually, if you don't mind, let me take that a step back. I don't want to assume everyone knows what you do. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what you do in terms of mortgages, the products you work with, and the type of clients that you help?
Okay, thank you very much, Matt. In 2018, I started Quick Commercial Capital. That's my company. And what we do is when we get a client, we basically look at their whole portfolio, their taxes, how their cash flow, their earnings and everything. And if they're eligible for an SBA loan, I will take them to either a bank or a private lender for SBA loans, depending on exactly what kind of property they're looking at. It's my business to know what banks are looking at. Some banks will not go into a loan with a vacant office building. Some will want owner occupied, some will not. So it's a whole field of different lenders, both banks and private lenders that are out there. And as I said, as a private money lender, it's my job to really match them up with the right lender. So that's what I'm doing, Matt. And people don't realize that there are so many other kinds of mortgages out there for commercial investors, not only properties, but things like cell towers are out there in the Midwest. Solar panels are out there, buildings, greenhouses for cannabis, private marinas in very secluded upstate areas. So there's a whole world of different kinds of mortgages out there that we can handle as a broker. I will go out and find the lender.
I love it. And I mean, you just mentioned several types of unique property types, and also some underwriting criteria that are definitely unique from situation to situation. When you start to take the number of different property types and the number of different scenario types and multiply them, you can probably wind up with an endless amount of possibilities of what one bank will take and one won't, right?
Exactly. I mean, and you know what? No day is the same for me. I get referrals from banks. I get referrals from attorneys, accountants. One very recent was very interesting. A woman lives close to an Army base. Her husband is the drill sergeant. I never knew a drill sergeant. And what they had a wonderful idea because there's not enough housing. So they opened up an RV park. So basically, they will sell the RVs to new people coming onto the base, officers, enlisted people with families, and they have a whole RV park that they started out small. I mean, they could really put 1,000 different RVs if they wanted to, but they're starting out small and putting only 200 on there. So it's just a wonderful thing to know that you could live that close to the base and have an RV with 2 or 3 bedrooms in the RV.
And what type of requirements do you have for someone coming to you with an idea like that? Because I've toyed myself. I mean, I do a lot of investing out in Pennsylvania, and we've been looking at doing these tiny home parks because there's such a housing shortage, especially affordable housing.
Right. Well, the first thing off is we have to look at the buyer's personal tax returns. That's number one. Where's the cash flow coming from? That'll list his job, what he makes on the base, and what she makes also, and what she's a hairdresser, so what she's making. Then what we do is we take the personal financial statement. We look at assets and liabilities, and then we actually look at the actually how close it is to the base. Will it be reasonable for people to have an RV that close to the base? And we look at the cost of the RVs. Yeah, she has to have a real set pro forma and business plan that she can present to us before we'll do this. People just come to you, Matt, and say, I need money. How much money do you need? I don't know. This is not going anywhere. I work very closely with the small business development centers, Farmingdale, Baruch College, and Stony Brook. And what they'll do is they'll send me their clients with the business plan in hand. And I can't tell you, Matt, that makes it so much easier for me. I can present that business plan to a bank or a private lender and get the loan done in about, I want to say 30 to 60 days.
Wow, even on something as unique and off the beaten path as an RV park.
Yeah, you see, there are certain lenders, again, getting back to what I said, I don't have to waste any time. I know who will do these loans already.
Yeah.
I mean, I had somebody wanting a divorced fella wanted to buy a houseboat, and it was $65,000, and the houseboat had no engine. He had no intention of using it as a boat, but it would be docked at a marina, and he'd pay for the marina slip, and that's his overhead. That's it. I mean, it's a wonderful idea. It's a 2-story boat. The problem was the boat was over 10 years old, and that's where I ran into a wall. Something like that, if you want to finance it, has to be within 10 years, 10 years old or less, I should say.
Interesting. Even on an asset like a boat, which really, I mean, you got boats from the 70s and 80s that are still out there, whereas we don't have any cars that old.
Right. Good. But no, those people have the money, Matt. They're buying it for cash, that kind of thing. They're not going to need a loan for it. I get people who want to lease a $3 million boat in Florida, and that particular guy is a car dealer who I did a showroom floor plan loan for him for $7 million, took care of all the cars in the showroom, the desks for the salespeople, the air conditioning, heating, windows, flooring, you name it. We got him a loan. And I'll be very candid with you, Valley Bank. Valley Bank is one of the very, very few that'll do a floor plan for a car dealer opening up a showroom. But again, Howie has to know that. I have to get through the red tape, find the lender as soon as possible for my client.
Yeah, so you just kind of brought us into another territory. It sounds like you're not just locked into having to secure it with real estate. You can lend on several different options for your clients.
Yeah, there's 2 different kinds of SBAs. One's asset pending, where you need to have collateral, and the other one is not asset, where it's a business that doesn't own the property that they're in, but they show great cash flow, and the bank would be foolish not to take them on as a client. Now, what banks do, Matt, when they take a client on, every bank wants to form a banking relationship with that client. So they do insist that they become your business banker, which I get, because they're not making that much money off of the loan. They're really not. They're making money off of, they're building a relationship with that client for years to come. That's how it works.
Makes sense. I was in the banking world for many, many years. And like consumers oftentimes think, well, I gave you $1 million loan. There's more liability with that and not nearly as much money as the bank getting to capture their deposits and use that for other purposes.
You nailed it. I mean, I opened up a pharmacy in Great Neck recently, and the woman, I love this woman, and she always had a dream to open a pharmacy. She worked for CVS for 21 years, and she opened up a boutique pharmacy in Great Neck. I get all my friends go there for injections now, for anything they need. She sells high-end creams, and I went in there a couple of weeks ago. I got my second COVID booster and my flu shot. I said, Kathy, how's it going? How's everybody? Are my friends coming to you? And she gave me the best compliment ever. She said, Howie, your friends of friends, their friends. She said, you should be mayor. So I said, thank you, Kathy. That's very sweet. I'm just happy she's doing well. But getting back to the banking relationship, they said to her, the bank, listen, we're going to give you the SBA loan, but only if you have a banking relationship with us. So you need to send us $50,000 by the end of the week. So she said, what? And I said, Kathy, this is what they do. I mean, it's kind of like, if you look at it, it's white collar blackmail. It basically is the bank saying, listen, we're going to give you the loan, but we need to have a banking relationship. So she had to sell off her mutual funds. She had to take capital gains off of it. But you know what? She got to live her dream. That's what her dream was. And that's how I presented it. I said, Kathy, you got to make some sacrifice if you want your dream to happen. And she's so happy she did it. And the bank's wonderful. The bank's giving her a line of credit now. I mean, everything is great.
Yeah, that's such a good point. There's nothing for nothing in this world, right?
Exactly. When somebody says something is free, Uh-uh. I went to Apple to get a new phone recently. I gave him $400 or $500. My wife says, Howie, why didn't you go to a Verizon store? They were offering free replacements. That's, honey, nothing free. I'm going to Apple. I mean, she goes, I'm going to the Verizon store. Goes to the Verizon store. Oh, you're not on the right plan. You have to get on this plan for the free phone. That'll be $20 or more per month indefinitely. So I said, Chan, you see, I told you nothing's for nothing.
Yeah. Or when you're eligible for an upgrade, you can get this phone for zero. And then in the fine print, but you're going to pay for it for $200 a month, $40 a month for the next 2 years.
And you know what, Matt? I'm old school. If I'm getting an Apple, I'm going to Apple. I'm not going to another store, a third party. These people at Apple showed me how to use the phone. They spend time with me. They transfer all my data over. I mean, okay, people think, oh, I can't go to Apple. It's too crowded. You know what, Matt? You walk in, they take your name down. Within 10 minutes, there's an Apple genius coming, stepping up to you and saying, how can I help you? So and that's any day of the week. So if people are listening, there's nothing wrong with going to an Apple store. And I have the stock too, so please go in there.
Well, it almost seems off topic, but it's almost not, because it's kind of like there's nothing wrong with going to an Apple store. There's nothing wrong with using a mortgage broker. There's nothing wrong with using a real estate broker. There's things in life that you just shouldn't have to try to do on your own, because it doesn't really, I don't want to say it doesn't cost you anything, but in certain situations, it really doesn't, in terms of what you could be losing.
Yeah, and honestly, with me, you're coming to me, you're getting my expertise, you're getting my consulting fees. There's no fee at all whatsoever. And honestly, I take you to either a private SBA or an SBA bank that's going to pay me. Okay, it's not coming from my client. The bank is just taking a little less profit. They're happy to do it because they know that I'm bringing them business. So in my world, it really behooves people to come to a broker like myself.
Absolutely, especially just the time saving factor, right? Because again, knowing I'm in real estate and I do all kind of crazy creative things, it can take you and drive you crazy, take you months to sit down and try to figure out what bank does what or who has what you're looking for. Because Google, it's not your friend. The people that are coming back in the search results are the people that paid to be the highest.
Right.
And you're going to waste all this time contacting lender after lender after lender for them all to say, yeah, no, sorry, we don't do that.
No. And you know what we were saying in another conversation before the tape started was that, and I'll give a pitch to this woman, Becky. She has a company called Lady Landlords. And what she does is she coaches over 3,000 women on how to buy real estate and hold it and make money, passive income on rental properties. And what she does is she says, yeah, I want you to go to my friend Howie. He'll be honest with you. And she sent people to me. And these women are novices as far as investing. And they find a property and I say to them, well, it's a 1 to 4 family. Can you show me the leases? Oh, there are no leases. I said, well, you're probably not going to get a mortgage for that property because a bank wants to see steady income being derived from that property. And if you can't show that, they're not going to be there for you. So I've saved them a lot of time because some women go out and say, oh, I love that property, and they get it appraised. I said, you shouldn't have wasted that money on the appraisal, because when you finally find a mortgage broker or a bank, they're going to want to do their own appraisal. And then I tell them, what's in the area? Oh, well, there's a dry cleaner next door or a gas station. I said, another red flag. Once you have those kind of properties close to you, any mortgage lender or bank is going to do an environmental phase 1 and a phase 2. Very expensive. It's another $20,000 so that they'll be comfortable that the soil is not contaminated around the property that they're giving you a mortgage on. So that's what I do, Matt. I educate people, cost them nothing to call me.
And that education is priceless. I mean, just if you save one person from going into contract,
right,
or giving an earnest money deposit that now maybe they can't get back because they missed something that's glaring to you or I, right, but not to them.
Exactly. And again, we act quickly because we realize the commercial seller, not the buyer, doesn't have much patience. They want to get this property. They made a decision to sell. They want to sell right away. So that's why when we go when we lead a client through the process, we tell them it's going to take 40 to 60 days. Tell the seller that that's what's going to take, and have them sign off and give you a date that he will not put the piece of property on the market until this date approaches, and we're going to get you to the closing table before that date.
Love it. Yeah, that, and again, working in banking, there are so many others who would just take your application and not look at anything other than reciting a checklist of things they need. And then if you're approved, you'll get a, hey, great, you're approved. And if you're not, you might never hear from the person again.
It's not only me, Matt, it's the quality of the bank that I bring my client to. I did a refinance in New Jersey recently, and it was an old time guy who wanted to refinance his building, and nice man, but one of those people who, you know, has the first dime that they ever earned. And when it came time for closing, he wouldn't hire a real estate attorney. He wanted to save the money. I said, this is going to be very difficult because the real estate attorney knows what the bank needs on the closing. No, I'm not going to do it. So the banker who was in a networking group with me, and I'll give her a pitch, Diane Leva from Columbia Bank, just wonderful. She went to the client's office and she fed her own bank with all the information they needed for that closing. And I'm convinced, Matt, without her going to that office, wouldn't have happened. So getting back to what I'm saying, it's not only Howie, but it's who Howie knows to lead you, to help you get to that closing table.
I had this conversation with an agent yesterday because I showed my client's 92 years old. We sold her house in the Bronx almost a year ago. She's been living with her daughter in a 1-bedroom co-op in Yonkers. And we took her to this amazing townhouse on the Hudson River in Ossining.
Oh, nice.
The entire apartment has river views, fell in love with it. And they're still a little old school. So they're like, we're paying cash. Can we offer less? And I was like, not really, no. They were like, well, I was like, look, I'll call and see if there's any offers first. So I called the agent's like 4 offers, 10 more showings tomorrow, highest and best by Monday.
Wow.
So I called them back and I'm like, look, you can do this 2 ways. You can go your way and we can pray for the best, or I would go in it no less than 5,000 over asking, 30-day close, no inspection for informational purposes only. They agreed because they loved it that much.
Yeah, beautiful.
Went back to the agent and she's like, you guys like still not the highest. So I was like, look, I get it. I said, I can't get them to go anymore. She's 92 years old. Even this was hard for her. I said, she's never had a new bedroom or bathroom in her life, worked her whole life. She's been living with her daughter there. Like, and a lot of agents won't even relay that information to their clients. So sometimes you just get the right relationship. And we hit it off. They told the story. Apparently the seller's parents just passed away, their unit, and they wanted her to have it because of her story.
Right.
So I got an inspector there on 8 hours notice.
That's great.
The other agent was like, how does that happen? I said, because it's not just Matt, it's who Matt knows.
The perfect example. Perfect.
Right. I'm not just going to call anyone out of a phone book. If I need something done, if I need a loan done tomorrow, I'm going to call Howie.
Right. See, sometimes I may not be the guy, but I'm the guy that knows a guy.
You've been the guy to say it's not me, but it's him.
Yeah. That's how it works. And you know, we can go on and on with stories over the last 5 years of people lending, you know, people finding money for people. I had a homeless shelter in the Bronx, and a huge bank, I won't mention the name, they have a mortgage on a building that the guy owns already. He's opening up another homeless shelter. So they said, Howie, do me a favor. You have to find this guy $900,000. And I said, what's for? He said, well, he's not buying the building, he's leasing it, but he's tapped out with us. The bank can't give him any more money, but please don't give him to another bank in this area. I don't want that bank trying to come back and steal his account from us. So I did the right thing. I found a bank in, you're not going to believe it, Manhattan, Kansas, of all places, and they only finance to nonprofits and municipalities. This was such a match made in heaven because this homeless shelter is nonprofit, and they're receiving grant money from New York City. So you got the municipality and you got the nonprofit, and I got him $912,000 in 8 days from this bank.
8 days.
So it made his first bank look like a hero because he referred me. I look like a hero. The bank in Kansas looked like a hero, and the client's thrilled. The client got what he needed. Elevators, a 12-passenger van, 100 bunk beds. Because this was not only a homeless shelter, but it was a homeless shelter for families, which is great. So in 2023, we're going to do similar in Brooklyn for this guy. He's open. You can't have enough homeless shelters in Manhattan right now or the 5 boroughs. The problem is that unfortunately, where they're being put, some of the residents aren't appreciative of that. And I get that. So it's a very, very sensitive issue. But again, a homeless shelter for regular homeless individuals is very, very different than a family homeless shelter.
Yeah. Kind of pulls on the heartstrings, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, these kids are going to school, they have a place to live, come back to the family's working, but again, low income, and the homeless shelter's just right for them.
I mean, based on just the two examples you've given already, I don't even know if this is a fair question to ask, but I'm wondering, like, what is one of the most satisfying like deals that you got done for somebody where you still look back on it and say, I can't believe I did that?
No, you know what? It wasn't that difficult, but getting back to the Great Neck Pharmacy, that was a feel-good story. This woman, I tried to talk her out of it. I said, Kathy, why would you want to open up a pharmacy? Rite Aid and Walgreens and CVS, they're buying out each other. The small pharmacy mom pop is no more. She says, Howie, I can do this right. And she did. She opened up in a high-end area in Great Neck, Long Island, where people are going to spend extra money for facial creams and ointments and all this stuff. And she's in the base of a medical building, so all the doctors are sending their patients down to her to fill her prescriptions. And she's killing it, because I hate to say it, but she prospered in the pandemic because she's giving shots. I go nowhere else. I'll give you a quick example. I didn't want to bother her, so I went to a CVS and said, oh no, you have to go online and make an appointment for a booster shot. I went across the street to Walgreens. I got the same story. I said, you know what? I'm done with you both. Went to Kathy, rolled up my sleeve. She gave me the injection in 10 minutes. It was over. So she is the one that I send all my friends and family to. So that was a feel-good story. And the homeless shelter was wonderful too. And last but not least, I got a $4 million SBA loan for a guy in New Jersey who had two daughters who played softball when they were growing up, and the fields were disgusting. And they just didn't get the right time to play on the fields in the city of Jersey. So the guy says, I'm going to buy my own piece of property and I'm going to basically have my own field of dreams. And that's what he did. He built a stadium of 3 adjoining softball fields. He has stands, he has concessions, he's got a locker room, and we got him $4 million for this loan. And again, he wasn't into it to make profit. He wanted to just furnish young girls with a place to play softball. So it's great. That was a feel-good story too.
That is incredible. I wish someone would do something like that in Yonkers. It's like the second biggest city in the state, and we never have fields available for anything.
Well, it's funny you said that, because the car dealership I mentioned prior, he opens up in Yonkers and the Bronx. I said to him, why are you opening up dealerships? He says, well, what happens is they're not impoverished areas, but they're economically challenged, and the government realizes that. So they give this owner of the car dealerships really some incredible tax incentives to open up in those areas.
Oh, wow.
I said to him, but you're selling BMWs also. He said, Howie, you don't understand. People will come down from Connecticut. They'll come down from Westchester to buy a BMW from me. And, he said, I didn't say this, but there are a lot of drug dealers, and they're dealing with, and they want the BMW. Very funny aside, Matt. My wife and I are on the roads quite often because we visit our kids in Brooklyn, Mount Kisco, and you ever see the people who are weaving in and out, going a ridiculous speed? They scare the crap out of you. And I hate to say this, 9 out of 10 are in BMWs. And we laugh. It seems to be the car that people want to speed in. And it's something's crazy about that. I don't understand it.
I won't even use the word I usually use in my car when it happens, but there is definitely a psychographic profile of a BMW driver, and they're usually an a-hole.
Well, the BMW feeds it, because there's a place down south that BMW runs. If you own a BMW, you can go down there and they will put you on a race course. And it's basically for BMW owners. And I mean, my brother-in-law is an ophthalmologist he's in Westport, Connecticut. He has a BMW. So I'm not talking everybody. I mean, there are people that drive slowly also, but it's just We shake our head. Another BMW speeding along the highway.
No, you're absolutely right. Nothing is ever a blanket statement of everybody.
Thank
But
you.
if you just see it happen 9 times out of 10, it's gonna be a BMW. It's,
So funny. I mean, I see Porsches in the right lane driving at 60 miles an hour.
the Corvette's giving you 4 car lengths behind you, but the BMW's squeezing between the both of you. And
Oh, and you know, Matt, not for nothing. They are so freaking close when they change lanes. I mean, they're within a foot of my front fender, and it jolts you because you don't see it coming.
yeah,
It's scary.
and no one ever gives any consideration to that. Like, okay, so you made it just fine, but what if that person panicked and swerved?
And you know, I'm just hoping once that a police car would police people over, but and in the police car's defense, they'd get in an accident trying to chase these people in and out of traffic. You know, so they probably let them go.
I mean, I know that's a fact for motorcycles. Like after a certain speed, they just don't even try.
You're gonna it puts the cop's life in danger, which I don't ever want to see. I don't blame them for not chasing.
No, if you can't get a helicopter up in the air and track them down at home, let it go.
Right. But there's one more thing I wanted to mention, which is not real estate oriented, Matt, but just for a second, we're also doing what's called a program from the government. It's called employee retention credits. And at one time, you couldn't apply for it as a business owner because you got PPP money. But President Biden has now opened it up to even people who have gotten round 1 or round 2 PPP money. And what it is if you have retained employees, or even if they left you, but you started your business after March of 2020, and you have 5 or more employees that are not family. So you, Matt, could have a family-owned business. You and any other 4 employees would qualify for this. You just can't have all family.
Got it.
I don't know exactly why that's a rule, but it is a rule. So if you have 5 or more employees, you can actually qualify for tax credits of up to $26,000 per year per employee. So it's big money coming back to you.
And I assume that's per W-2'd employee.
Thank you very much. Exactly. W-2, Matt. And you just have to be, you know, be worthy. But and when I say worthy, you just have to have 5 or more employees and start in business from March of 2020, before March of 2020, and then you're in.
Amazing. So Howie, if you'd be so kind on that note, let everyone know where they can find you. How can they get in touch with you? I'll make sure I put it in the show notes as well. But for anyone who's listening and wants to get in touch with you immediately, please.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you so much. We are 24/7. So there's always somebody here answering the phone. We don't have any kind of recordings going on. Our phone number is 516-658-3484. I'll repeat it, 516-658-3484. I'm always going out and meeting with people. Just so you know, I know the best coffee and muffin shops in Queens and Long Island. So give me a call.
I still need to take you up on that, or the next time you're heading up to Kisco, let me know.
Okay.
You're passing right by my neck of the woods.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Great.
We're definitely going to make that happen. My schedule has been insane. That's no excuse. By the end of the year, we're definitely getting together.
You're on for sure.
Amazing. For everyone listening, that you just spent this time with Matt Harms of Time Away Realty Group and Howie Mann from Quick Commercial Capital. For all of your lending needs, reach out to Howie. If you didn't catch his phone number and you want to get in touch with him before we get it in the show notes, you can always reach out to me, Matt, M-A-T-T, at timeawaygroup.com, or just shoot us a message here, social media, whatever works best for you. We thank you for tuning in and supporting our guests. Until the next time, Howie, thank you so much.
Thanks, Matt, very much. Have a good weekend, guys.
You too.
Bye-bye.